In the last video, we talked about the different kinds of information that's available. But how do you know if the source is credible or useful for your paper? The main question to ask here when evaluating a source is, how was this information created? You want to understand what happened to the content from its original concept to the final publication that's in front of you. So let's look at how you might approach different kinds of sources. Starting with the academic article. If it's an academic source and peer-reviewed, the process is pretty straightforward. How was the information created? Well, before being published, it was submitted to a journal, then it was peer-reviewed and edited by experts before being published. That's pretty credible, and particularly credible for academic audiences. Knowing that, you then want to take a look at the author, date, and the journal to make sure it will still be useful for your assignment. Popular sources found through Google, on the other hand, are not as clear, so it takes a bit more work. Let's look at a news source. If you can tell that the source is a mainstream news source, you already know some things about the process it went through. These institutions have internal fact-checkers and editors to review content before publication. But whether it's mainstream or credible isn't always clear. To evaluate a popular source you find online outside of library databases, you can do the following. Read laterally, go upstream, and do a bias check. Let's look at each of these. First, read laterally. Google the owner or company of the site and the author of the article, and open up lots of tabs to figure out if this publication is even worth reading. This strategy is how professional fact-checkers do their research. Instead of spending a lot of time on the website or source itself reading from top to bottom or vertically, they first look horizontally at what other sources say about it to decide if it's worth spending time on. Remember, the top results on Google are easily manipulated and bought, so make sure to go down a little further on the results list to see what other folks are saying about the source, article, or content. Second, go upstream. This is important because so often news sources report on something someone else has said or researched. They might even be reporting on someone else's reporting. So use the hyperlinks and sources provided to go upstream to the original source of the information. If they don't provide any of these, that's a red flag. Finally, you want to do a bias check. Our initial reactions to information aren't always the most reliable. As humans, we tend to agree with content that matches how we see the world and to distrust content that disagrees with our view. This is a particular problem when the content is emotionally driven. If we feel a strong response to an article, our brain tends to overlook the need to fact-check. We can't get away from our biases completely, but we can strive to be more objective about the information we consume and vet it before believing it outright. As you use these three strategies in your source evaluation and internet consumption, you'll have a much better understanding of how to use these sources more effectively in your papers and arguments.